Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to COASTER-net Update. We've got some breaking news out of Knott's Berry Farm, where just this week they posted a brand new teaser poster, Danny, much in the style of the ones that we've seen at other parks, especially Cedar Point. This one in particular, though, when I'm looking at what it actually says, it's another call to adventurers. So just like the Cedar Point posters, had this Western frontier town theme to them, this one also has that same theme. It says news from the West.
Now, didn't we say something about how Knott's Berry Farm and how we had the mine trains and then Calico Mine Ride was kind of thrown in there? I mean, didn't we say, let the record show, Andy, that we talked about this a few months ago when we saw all these other teasers?
And we made a big deal that if you thought Cedar Point was teasing other parks, that they teased, obviously, Canada's Wonderland. They obviously teased Kings Island. And we said, well, where's Knott's? That they're throwing in, the Easter eggs with Calico, with the Catawampus, with the Pony Express logo at the bottom of one of them. And now, lo and behold, we have a similar style poster being thrown up on their social media. Not even for like people to go find in the park. Like they're throwing it right up on their social media so everyone can see.
Yeah.
So they're talking about this unspoiled wilderness in the Calico River territory. Now, Danny, a whole lot of people are speculating that they're talking about that area around Pony Express that currently. What kind of surprised me is it currently is actually a part of Ghost Town. The Mystery Lodge, Pony Express, Bigfoot Rapids.
It's kind of on the edge of Ghost Town, and I think it kind of has that feel to it as well when you're in the park there, and I think that's maybe the intent. But I don't know. It seems like if you were going to make it part of Ghost Town, maybe you could button it up a little bit.
Well, and I think maybe the opposite is true. Is maybe they're going to make it into a whole different section
and make it its own thing.
Because it's listed on the map under Ghost Town. So and I've never considered it part of Ghost Town. Been to Knott's many times. Never really considered it part of that. Looking at the rides back there, Pony Express, a great family ride. Bigfoot Rapids is your traditional raft ride. It looks really cool. Scenery wise. Is that something that might be taken out? That, me and you, we were looking at, the Knott's map, on Google Maps just recently. There's not a whole lot of room in this park to do much of anything. Not even a whole lot of, options with, unless they came up with ideas, unless they start building parking garages places and taking away some of the parking from other areas, then maybe you start getting some open areas. But really the last big piece of land that if you want to remove something like Bigfoot Rapids to put in something else that's a little bit bigger, that's really the last area back there. And also I mentioned, having done Mystery Lodge for the first time this summer, it's a cool experience. It's a theatrical experience, but it is very dated. And when you are competing with Disneyland in the same market, only a few minutes away, Mystery Lodge is not one that holds up over time. Very dated, very late 80s, early 90s feel to it. I'm sure it was built in a completely different time, but very dated, I would say, for that market. Now, you put that anywhere else, and maybe you put it at a Worlds of Fun, maybe it sticks around. But I don't know. I feel like this year in 2018 that they are teasing a Mystery Lodge update would be my big guess, because that's what I think that park needs is they have a lot of shows, but that's a big piece of land, a big piece of real estate for a show that I don't think really delivers anymore.
Yeah, so I mean there's definitely a couple options as to what they could be doing. First and foremost, I don't think it's anything huge. I don't think it's anything that we should be getting overly excited about. I don't think it's anything that you or I is going to, jump on an airplane again to go, especially after we were both there this past year. So, but it's certainly something that if you've been paying enough attention, you should have expected something like this to happen here.
Yeah.
As for what exactly it's going to be, we don't really know. There's certainly some options. We've presented a few of them to you, but I'm uh, no real telling for sure. I mean, it's kind of a small area of the park to make it its own thing, but it doesn't I mean, it belongs more in Ghost Town than it does on the boardwalk, which is
Yeah.
if you were to put it in one of the two existing areas, there's, where that rear entrance gate is back there before you get to Voyage to the Iron Reef. Technically, that's kind of that's like the transition zone, if you will,
Yeah.
before you get into the boardwalk area. So it definitely doesn't belong in boardwalk. It belongs more in Ghost Town than it does in boardwalk. But maybe they'll make it like an addendum to the Ghost Town, and they'll make it like maybe they'll call it like the outpost or the outskirts or something.
Exactly.
Like
that's what kind of like almost like how at Williamsburg you have the France section and then the Canadian section.
Yeah, you have New France kind of tacked onto France, but it's really just Canada.
Yeah.
But they call it New France. So, I could see that maybe, whereas they sort of piggyback the Jack Hanna or the wildlife preserve off of Ireland in that same sort of way. And the San Marco Village and Festa Italia, they kind of do the same sort of thing where it's two different areas that are part of the same larger area. And Germany and Oktoberfest, there's actually a lot of parallels there, I think.
But I don't think it surprises me one bit that Knott's is getting more investment, that we hear over and over and over that Knott's is by far the winner this year for Cedar Fair with attendance and money, that Knott's is absolutely killing it out there with a very minimal investment of it's sizable, but for roller coasters, hang time is not a huge investment
it was probably the third largest investment of their 4 coasters this past year.
So they're getting a great return on the money out there. And with Star Wars opening up, next year, that area is going to see a whole lot of people. And I'm not saying that Knott's is going to become a destination, but I'm saying that Knott's is going to be able to siphon off a good portion of some of those new people coming out there, hopefully. So a brand new theatrical show in Mystery Lodge and an update to that might actually work. I don't know what you do. I don't know if you keep the Native American theme out there. But I think there's a lot that is exciting for Knott's, because we've seen investments like this really pay off for them when they did Calico Mine Ride, when they did the Timber Mountain Log Flume, that those investments went over pretty well for the park. They invested a whole bunch of money and it paid off. And
those are classic attractions that people love. I love both of those rides. I've ridden both of them every time I've been in Knott's Berry Farm. Those are 2 rides that people out there love and are really great family rides when you think about it. And at the same time, they were at a point where it was, well, do you invest the money to make it great like it once was, to make it great again and to bring it back into its former glory and a new glory, or do you do away with it? And the problem is with both of those attractions being right in the middle of the park, it would be very difficult to tear them down and do something new. And quite honestly, it would be very difficult to do something better than those 2 attractions for what those 2 rides accomplish. So the absolute correct call on both of those attractions to do something, just do really an extensive refurbishment. And I'll tell you what, Calico Mine Ride had a line spilling out onto the Midway when we were there. Now it was a very busy day. Timber Mountain Log Ride spilling out into the Midway and queuing back and forth on the Midway with a full queue. It was absolutely ridiculous, the popularity of those 2 rides. Yeah. And, I mean, those are fairly large capacity rides. I mean, when you think about how many people they put through. Log flumes move people fairly quickly. You have a lot of logs going through there. The Calico Mine Ride, you've got trains coming in and out at a pretty regular clip. A lot of people going through those 2 attractions across from one another. So Knott's has been good at doing refurbishments, and it doesn't stop there. I mean, look at Ghost Rider. I mean,
Yeah.
Ghost Rider's a top 10 wood coaster now. Knott's has, and it once was at one time before, and it is again now in a lot of people's opinions. The boardwalk area, redoing that. Knott's has been very good at revamping and refurbishing existing sections of the park and existing areas and existing attractions without completely demolishing or doing away with them.
And
So
to be
I think
honest with
there's a
you,
lot to be said about
that area back by Pony Express is the one area that I always felt was like it's kind of iffy back there. Where if I'm not going to go to an area of the park, it's probably going to be that one because it's out of the way. You have to walk all the way back to the boardwalk.
You go there to get your coaster credit if you haven't been there before, and if you ride Pony Express, once during your visit, which is exactly what we did. We went there once pretty early on in the day, and then we didn't go back in that section. We cut across the park if we wanted to go front to back. We went down the pathway that goes past Timber Mountain and the Calico Mine ride because you don't need to go around that loop because there's not a heck of a lot back there aside from Pony Express and the Rapids ride.
So it'll be interesting to see. We should expect some sort of announcement out of Knott's right at the end of Haunt here. That traditionally they've waited to November for Haunt to end to announce their next season. I know Hang Time was a little bit out of character last year because of all the craziness going on with National Roller Coaster Day. But usually Knott's announces right after Haunt. So we should find out in the next few days here what Knott's is going to do for 2019. So it'll be pretty exciting. So as always, stick with us here when that announcement comes around. We will possibly talk about it if it's interesting enough. So as always, ride on, Ride Warriors.
See you guys. Thanks.